Hi, this is Wendy from Knitters Brewing, and I'm going to show you how to work the quilted lattice stitch. This is what I'm talking about here. We've got a stockinette background with diamond-shaped floats on top of it. You can either do it in one color, or in this case I've done it in two colors. They're kind of similar to each other. This is a fade project, but it's a cute effect in two colors too. So there's two parts to the stitch. The first one is to do around where you create long floats in the front, and then the second part is where you go around and tack these floats in as you're knitting the round. Both very simple, so let me show you how to do it. So for the first part, the pattern will give you specifics about the stitch count, but what we're going to be doing is alternating knitting a stitch and then slipping 5 stitches. And we have to move the yarn from the back to the front as we do it. So let's get going here. So first we're going to knit a stitch as one normally does. And now we're going to move the yarn to the front and slip 5 stitches as if to purl. 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to move the yarn to the back again so that we can knit the next stitch. But we want to avoid pulling these floats tight, so you don't want to just go like that and then knit. What we're going to do to make it easy to keep the float loose is we're just going to stick our thumb in here, and as you move the yarn to the back, just leave your thumb in there so it gives it a little extra length to that float. And then knit the next stitch while your thumb's in there, and then that kind of tacks that float down. So now you can see it's a loose float, and don't get worried about that, because as you can see with these other ones, they get pulled up a few rows before they're tacked in, so they need to be longer than just a straight float. So let's do some more of those. Just did the knit stitch, so we're going to bring the yarn to the front, slip 5 purlwise, 5. Now we're going to move the yarn to the back over the thumb, knit the next stitch, and now you can release the thumb. Yarn to the front for the 5 slips, 3, 4, 5, and then yarn to the back over the thumb for the knit stitch. And so what you're going to have here is a succession of loose floats all the way around that round or across that row. The second part of this quilted lattice stitch is where we're going to take these floats that we created previously, and we're going to tack them down in a row just 2 rows above them. It's not a difficult thing to do. The pattern will give you the specific stitch count, but what we're going to be doing basically is knitting over till we get to the center stitch behind the float, and then that's the stitch we're going to knit this float into. So let me just knit over till I get to that stitch. All right. Here I am at the center stitch. Now what we do is we take the right hand needle, go under the float, through the next stitch as if to knit, and as we're finishing up that knit stitch, we're going to bring the needle back under the float as we take the knit stitch off the left hand needle. And that holds this float behind the stitch we just made. It anchors it up there. So let me do that one more time for you. First I need to knit 5 stitches to get over to my next float anchoring point. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, under the float, through the stitch as if to knit, and then bring the needle back under the float towards you as you remove the stitch from your left hand needle. And there you can see how we've anchored the floats under this row of stitches. And that's all there is to the quilted lattice stitch.